Well, it's time for another gardening week, and we're just back from a few days away, and we have accumulated quite the backlog of tomatoes here. And this first plant, I think, is Crimson Plum. It's a reasonable cropper, and I'm going to work my way through all of these. And I'll just speed this up for you so that you can see what I'm up to, and I'll show you the results when we get to the end. So I'm coming to the end now. These little ones here are the aviditas, and they're a great eater. These are my favourite of the red sort of cherry stroke plum varieties. And we've got Crimson Plum, and we've got San Marzano in here as well, and obviously they're a bit bigger. But this year, like last year, I've got too many tomatoes. So what I've got to do somehow is figure out other things to grow in this polytunnel next year, and I think I'll probably do some melons as well as some more winter squashes or summer squashes. So while I've been doing these tomatoes, Debbie's been processing these used now onions. So these are the ones we've had just in the polytunnel, just drying on the soil, and they're in reasonably good condition, I'd say. You know, the necks, and quite a lot of them are reasonably dry, not all of them. But you know, the skins they really need removing on some of them because they're a little bit soft. But these are used nows, so it's not really worth putting too much attention into getting them into that state, you know, where the skins are perfectly intact, the necks are nice and closed, the roots are removed. That's what we want for a storage onion. For these, which are just going to be eaten over the next couple of months, we can take a risk of some of these kind of rotting. It won't really matter too much to us, and the chance of that happening is actually pretty slim between now and sort of October time. It's only really when everything gets a lot damper and colder that we need to take more care. But we'll probably sort through these and sort of categorize them into, you know, like use pretty much immediately, something like those, these, and, you know, the use a little bit later, ones like that, as I said, like that. So yeah, pretty good crop of onions there to keep us going for the next couple of months. And tomorrow I might start processing the true storage onions, i.e. the ones we'll eat sort of from November onwards until sort of May time probably. Well, I've certainly had a back-breaking job today processing the onions. I've got this crate full, which are the use nows, well, not maybe use in winter, so those are in addition to the ones we did yesterday. And then I've got 3 more crates here, and these are hopefully going to be the ones we're going to use in January, February, March and April, and then by May we'll have new onions again. So it is quite a job. I like to take them down to that sort of condition, so completely intact skin, no roots, and a nice sealed neck. Not every neck is as sealed There's that one, or that one, and no sign of kind of mottling on the skin, which might be a sign of damp. So, you know, I'm pretty happy with these. We only really do red onions for storage, just because they're healthier and sweeter. And I try and get mostly small onions in these boxes because small onions keep a lot better than large ones. So a large one like that, for example, probably won't keep anywhere near as well as a small one like that. And I try not to bruise them, so I won't be tipping them from one crate to another or anything like that. So now I'm on to the shallots. So that's a job I'm definitely pleased to see the back of. It takes a long time to process enough onions to keep you going for, well, until mid-spring. When it comes to storing onions as well, it's a bit tricky. You know, they really like to be quite cold, you know, probably sort of 4 degrees to 10 degrees, something in that kind of range, and sort of medium level of humidity as well, which is tricky to get in our climate. So you know, they also like to be well ventilated. Again, it's tricky to get all these conditions right unless you kind of move them around between lots of different environments. What we're trying to do is store them in our utility. It's got the fridge in it, it's got the heat pump dryer, and it's got the washing machine, so it generates a bit of heat. It's fairly well insulated, so it doesn't lose too much heat during the day, but it's not too well insulated, so it does cool down and keep at that sort of, hopefully at that sort of 4 degrees or above, you know, sort of 4 to 15 degrees sort of temperature range. It doesn't have a window in it, so again that keeps the temperature reasonably consistent, and it also keeps it dark, because certainly as you sort of move into spring, these onions want to sprout, and if they're getting any light on them, then that's going to increase the chances of them sprouting. So I've got a lot more details in my ebook about sort of the optimum conditions for storage, but I'll talk a bit more about it when I do a tour of our storeroom and show you sort of how we're kind of trying to manage the storage conditions. And of course, the humidity levels that onions like are not the same as the humidity levels that lots of other things like as well, so keeping them in the same store can be tricky. I actually got to spend a rare few minutes in the kitchen garden this week as well. Just cut back the strawberries here, gave them a bit of bloodfish and bone, so got a bit of food to recover. So hopefully by the time we get to winter we'll have all nice new growth on those. And I've already cut back the raspberries, the summer fruiting raspberries, and tied those in. So there's very little really to do in the kitchen garden at the moment. It's pretty much just harvesting at the moment, and even that is quite limited because most of the stuff in here now is for winter. And we finally got our building work complete, which is really nice, and I'm not going to give you a tour of that right now. I'm just going to show you that I've got my onions, or some of them, in here on this little drying bench which folds away nicely, and then up there we've got a couple of fans doing the work, a couple of more crates of onions here just drying outside in the sunshine. But this is our new utility where we're putting most of our stored veg in that corner, beetroot and potatoes, and we've got more onions already in there, and garlic and all that sort of thing. I'll do a tour fairly soon, and I've got another fan in here just to keep airflow quite high over here, although it's not on all the time. And yeah, that's pretty much it in here. And then down here on the drive, we've got all of our stored potatoes. So all the way down here and on that side as well. So got quite a lot in store. I'll do a proper tour, as I said, soon. So I'm back on the allotment, and right now I'm just going through these corn salad trays where I sowed 2 per module, and just filling in any gaps, and then I'm just snipping off any that are surplus to requirements. So I just get 1 seedling per module. They don't do very well if you have multiple seedlings, I find. They like a lot of airflow and a lot of water. So I've got them outside. I've just got them inside right now just because it's convenient. But yeah, so snipping them off. So I've got a lot of white fly on the colettes and the bustles, and hopefully you can see just how bad it is. And I find this is not, even at this level, it's not too bad a problem to manage. Basically, I'm just stripping off all the lower leaves that are really badly affected to try and leave leaves sort of like this one. They've still got a little bit of whitefly on them, and they're still going to get worse over time. But you know, new leaves are going to grow, and these plants now, it's still, as long as they've got a nice lush canopy of leaves, it doesn't really matter very much that you've taken all these lower leaves off. And I think, you know, I'm trying to take like these off there that've got this sooty mould on them as well. And generally these are all the ones that are kind of low down below the canopy. So again, as I say, you're not really losing very much by doing this. Again, just taking these off here. Still plenty of leaf up here. And the Brussels sprouts are probably even better, you know, so really nice Brussels developing on all these. And I know some people will be a little bit distressed right now that their colettes are not forming. I'm not. I want my colettes in winter. I don't want them too early. They often grow too big, and I just, you know, this is a winter crop for me. So I'm quite happy to leave it until winter. So it's the 1st of September, and right on cue, the harvests seem to be so much nicer than they are in summer. I really don't think summer harvests are all that much, but yeah, once we get to autumn, everything seems to be so much nicer. You know, all the salads are so much nicer. We've got so many more peppers and squashes. Yeah, it's just a really nice time. September's kind of my favourite month, really, weather-wise and gardening-wise. So yeah, salads. After so many weeks of salads being a bit lackluster, maybe difficult to tell on video, but you know, just not as great as they could be. Absolutely gorgeous now, full of lettuces and Asian greens, and still got some purslane. I'll show you that in a minute. And of course, these lovely tomatoes. We picked loads and loads of tomatoes, and we got the same again, but they've all made it into passata mixes. So yeah, on Monday, as I say, we'll probably pick another 6 little tubs of tomatoes, and that'll make another nice batch of passata, and then we're pretty much full really with passata. So we don't really mind too much if tomato volumes drop down a bit. Cucumbers, certainly plenty of those, but cucumbers have definitely slowed down now, so I think we definitely will have this sort of quantity next week. Salad onions, these are the last, I think, of the big salad onions, which are so amazing when you cut out off the tough outer skins. We're sort of back to ordinary sized salad onions again, but I'm not complaining about those. This lovely red stemmed celery, absolutely gorgeous, and starting to pick a lot of apples now. Just a little sample of the different varieties there, and just look, I mean, some of them, they just, look at that, so beautiful, aren't they? Anyway, loads of strawberries, loads of raspberries, loads of blueberries as well. A few pears, golden purslane. I'm not sure really how long this is going to last now. It's very rare that I actually still have it in September, to be honest. It's normally succumbed to the weather or disease or pests or something, but still loving it. And I love the fact that you can eat these little seed pods as well, and you get these little peppery seeds, which are really nice. And bits of kale. It's not the best time of year for kale. You know, this is still quite tough. There's some more tender leaves there, but of course we've got loads of red cabbage. I'll show you that in a second. Potatoes, we're just picking these from the store at the moment. We will be for a while, and then we'll switch over to the ones that we've left in the containers, and the quality of those is always just that little bit better. Spinach, quite a few tubs of that, and look at those absolutely stunning Asian greens. These big leaves here, these are Komatsuma, and these are red stem pak choi, and there's some tatsoi in there as well. So yeah, peppers, actually started to get some fairly nice peppers again, which is really nice. And these are the centre cut squash. These longer ones are the tromboncinos. These little ones are the centre cuts. I've got literally like 30 of these little centre cuts, and I'm picking them even at this small size because the plant can't support that many, and they tend to rot off if I don't pick them. So yeah, obviously you do have to manage the plants a little bit. And more little peppers, and yeah, so I picked a lot of onions and processed all of those. And so these are just the dregs, so these are just a few that I found on the floor in the polytunnel. Melons, quite a lot of different types of melons. So I've got, these are all various different cantaloupes, absolutely super sweet smelling, so it's really easy to tell when these are ready. And I think I've got 6 of these left, and then I've got 3 honeydew melons left, and we picked all the watermelons. So melons have really been a huge success this year. I'm just going through the red cabbages and picking the ones that are not going to survive. So these have got a bit of slug damage on them, but most of them, I think we've got, how many have we got? Maybe 12 red cabbages or something like that, and they're all, most of them are in superb condition, and there's no evidence of slug problems with them. So might as well just pick the ones that have a bit. Just a few courgettes. We don't have very many courgettes now, and the leeks. And the last little bits, I keep thinking it's the end, but actually these calabrese, they just keep on throwing out little side shoots. Very welcome. And parsnips and beetroot and carrots. And again, I've got one bed of carrots. It's just, it's got cabbage, carrot, root fly. It wasn't covered, it was in the kitchen garden. So I'm just clearing that whole bed because they won't keep, it'll just get worse and worse. So those are the ones that I could salvage. I had to throw about, well, the same again, away. Yeah, I'm not that worried because it means the bed comes free, that I can plant with salad onions, and you know how much I love salad onions. And beans, French and runner beans, plenty of those. So that's it, not a bad, I'm pretty pleased actually with that harvest. And things will only get better from now on. So lots to look forward to in autumn. So as always, take a look at my new newsletter, loads of great information in there. You can find that at steverichards.substack.com, and there's a link in the description below. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.